Okay. One thing I need to always say is say thank you, God. Um, I don't know how I'm still capable to see things where they are. Yesterday was a moment of like laughter. Like it's like frustration but comicalness. Because as much as they try to make me acceptive of this manipulation, I gotta be thankful that all these things they do to me, with all this technology, all the manipulation I'm experiencing, and you have these perps who have to act a certain way, right? At this point, it's like I, I'm so thankful that as a target individual, this happened to me around the time where information is valuable, is available for to put things in perspective. In perspective, it's hard for me to speak. It's gonna be worse, but these people who are contracted to gaslight you to accepting this now are living off just the childlike they can be. You know, there's different perps for me that try to break me down, and a lot of them are children like sounding people. They are children, but children being groomed to do these things. And it's funny, they tell me how bad they feel. I'm like, oh, don't worry, you have a long time for it to come to you. Perfect. You're perfect for it. Oh, you're happy today, but trust me, I'm telling you, as a prophet I am, which I'm not. I'm just saying that the obvious. As far as things that you're doing, it's just you're really signing up for something to come to you very bad, and you don't know how. But in real time, you've seen some bad things that came to people. Now, um, I'm so thankful they still try to create this. It's like now the way I am validated. Even these perps, as they do this, the comical act. Listen, they want to paint me as this threat to children. They are manipulating my brain and then reacting to the manipulation they've created themselves. Right? It's gaslighting. Right? And some of the people gaslighting me, I have no respect for them. It's like this one who's like somebody who's male who talks to me, and I'm like, I don't like I don't have respect. I call him man child. It's like a child it's an adult male, like a man child. Like he talks to me. I feel like he's like a kid in an adult body. It's like he's on something else. And I'm like, well, you're a clown, my guy. They make me have this reaction, intense feeling, which is something in my brain that's just like stimulated to an intense level to turn into something sexual. When I see, and they try to be like, oh, this is pedophilia. Yeah, that's why you're stimulating me in this way. And I'm like, is this? I know you can stimulate the brain in certain ways to give sensation stimulation. You do that for these babies. Like there's this adorable kid that they just create something in my brain that just like turn into something else. Like just and I can feel literally my brain being stimulated, like something is just like cranking up. It's like somebody like slowly like put like an injection in something in my brain, like, and I feel an extra feeling of something that turned into something sexual. It's like, oh, they are. I'm like, I can obviously feel that you are triggering a stimulation that's so intense. And guess what? I know that this is very much possible for a long time. So you are making me feel this reaction. And then you can aim it wherever. And this little, out of all the ones, it's like this like little girl over there. It's like to her, this is real. It's like, no, you are literally creating a stimulation in my brain that turns things into like almost sexual, but not fully sexual. It's literally doing that here. This is how crazy things are. I can feel my brain have a stimulation. It's like a brain chemical, just like it's just increased and just like, and I can feel it. Like literally, like some juices in my brain are just like flowing to also like, and I'm like, you making me have this stimulation so you can get this reaction out of me. toward this kid. It's literally like what this man says here is literally felt in my brain. Like
This is being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Sean Welsh telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Bedich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welsh and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experience. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is a greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Bedich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behaviors of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems and being able not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
it feels like this part, like something in my brain just like some, and you know, they use a lot of gaslighting because they do these things to you. They're obviously triggering some kind of stimulation, a sensation in your brain. They can release all kind of weird feel, like these emotions they can create. Sometimes it's more obvious than others. Like today, right now, it was more obvious, and maybe they want to like a more simplified way of forcing me stimulation. But I could feel like in my brain, literally something. And then you have these perps, right? Their job is to gaslight you in one way or another, right? And they call it being at war. They're just participating in this program that is developing these weapons and these weapon systems. And we're just the guinea pigs, right? And so this guy immediately said, "Oh, you're about to get raped." You know, like they want you to be like, "Okay, whatever's gonna happen to me, please understand, my friend. I did not identify with this manipulation. I understand this is the technology they've been working on for so many years, and you try to intimidate me to accepting this. I'm not the strongest man. I'm dying very much. As a matter of fact, I've never been this weak in my life. But one thing is for sure, I will not gonna give you the luxury. You know what you do. You know what you're part of. And you know what this was happening in my brain." They know very well. They partake in the implementation of these things. And you have this trash like coming in. This man child's like, "No, this is so paid." I was like, "Yes, but yes, you are triggering this weird feeling in my brain. It's like something just intensified in my brain that turns into something sexual, right? It's like an intense feeling of when you see somebody who, like a very like adorable, but just like some feelings just woo, they turn into something sexual. It's like, this is what you're doing. You're playing with these brain chemicals to make me have this reaction to this baby. And it's gonna be something that's degrading and sexual in some ways, or not even sexual, but something just create a sexual reaction of some sort. And then they send this trash to try to make me accepting of this. They have no shame. Can you imagine? I have this. Right, their job is to continuously try to gaslight me into accepting this. They have no shame. They can't. How are they supposed to create a gaslighting area for me? And you hear this perps, "No, there are, so you know," and they look like this trash. I'm telling you, one thing I'm like, if you saw yourself, right, you have all the information I have, and you saw somebody like this clown-like looking people, tell me, "No, they are, so you you're like, okay, yeah." It's so obvious. I'm telling you, I'm like, if you saw, I'm talking to these perps, right? It's like, perps, if you saw somebody like you, like this, would you not think you're a clown? They stimulate me right now because I'm gonna show this. It's like, that's what they don't want to be seen by me anymore. It's not that they're scared of me. It's because I'm like, "Hey, please, just do this, and tell me, yo, girls." They have no shame. But for me, I'm like thankful that they use childlike people like that. You can't even respect this trash. At this point, they just try to agitate you. The humiliation is crazy. So for me, I had to be like, yesterday was like a lot of comicalness and just like this Perps like, oh nah, now it's over, we finished. It's like the same shit. It's like everything is the same all the time. I have like it's a systematic tactic. Now these Perps here cranking up this feeling in my brain because there's these kids here, these babies, and they do that toward the little girl. See the little baby over there. Adorable. They even right now they're cranking up that feeling again. It's like no, girls, like. Let me show. And right now they try to create a feeling of anxiety, and then create something sexual. I'm so thankful that I'm able to see things for what they are, but they're making it easy because they're childish. You see this baby over there, giving me stimulation, and toward the one all the way there because she's a little girl, they're giving him more like this feeling, which is like it's like initially. If it wasn't cranked to this level, you'd be like, oh, she's adorable, like, you know, but now it's like, ooh, like it becomes sexual. So they triggering something in my brain, a brain chemical, almost like the feeling that you get when you're over caffeinated, and then turning to something sexual. And then you have this Perps who comes in, it's like, girls. It's like, no, this is the thing that you can make me feel because you can manipulate my brain to go there, and I can still feel it. It's just, this is, I think, the least sophisticated ways of them making me have reaction. This is when I feel like it's just like you just cranked up like in a brain chemical to just go off and like woof extremely, like that person mentioned, and they do that. They aim it toward more the little girl than the other kids to be like, oh, girls, this is a little girl, she like little girls. Disgusting. And they try to create mental battles, and I understand this is the things in my brain that can trigger this emotion they can create, and it feels like that. It feels like what this man described to the T. It feels like the least sophisticated version of what they can do, because they can do it in a different fashion. They can make you have different feelings in different ways without making that obvious. Right now, I feel like something in my brain just like very much like triggered, like pushed to feel this way. Sometimes they don't make you feel that extreme of a brain release. Sometimes it feels like an emotion that's just less. Like right now I can feel like my brain almost like is releasing some juice. Right? Something I can feel in my brain, something just hitting. And this man describes it.
Innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Shirley Welsh telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behaviors of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems and being able not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
Wow.
So it feels like something in my brain has been activated, like just like create to get the stimulation. And like he says here, it seems like this is like the less sophisticated version of what they can make me feel. Feel that.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response. The brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just be about triggering emotions. You can change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to getting your thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
So it feels like he described this cascade of emotional. It's not even, but it feels like just something just being triggered in my brain, and the more easy aspect of what he just mentioned, like with this feeling that can be felt, and they do these things sometimes that are less like what just happened to me for them to make me feel this reaction to this little girl, this little baby over there, is something that can be felt. Like I literally can feel something in my brain just like being played with, like something they just like pressing to get an emotion, which is what they can do. It makes it obvious that my brain is just like something. Usually it's not that obvious, right? It's like they have different range of sophistication when they make you have these reactions, right? Right now it feels like it just a brain chemistry of some sort is cranked up for me to have this like it's like a stimulant of some sort, right? And then they have this thought manipulation with me. They're like, no, but you felt like that when you were a kid, and they press this feeling, and they do this after getting this emotion. This is why you hear the noise campaign. They're supposed to make me identify with this. It's crazy. And they really are trying to make me feel like I should identify with this thing. And you hear the noise campaign because it's all part of this ecosystem that's supposed to get me to accept these things.
You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare.
So they are rewiring my thought process as they make me have these stimulations, right? And they're like, oh no, but you felt like that when you were a kid. And it's like, no. And first of all, you understand what they're doing. They're literally altering your mind for you to have this reaction, right? They're admitting that part. But it's like, but they are, you used to have like that. I was like, no, you are changing my brain chemicals to make me have this reaction. I can feel the soreness too. I can feel my brain being something happening, like internally too. I can feel like something is being released. I can feel that weird feeling, like an injection of like caffeine. That's all I can describe it, because it's just being released in my brain. And this is what they do to create this stimulation. And they're like, oh, that's so pedo. It's like, oh, awkward. And then make me think, no, but I remember when you were a kid, you felt like that. It's like, nah, I didn't feel like that. You're just manipulating my memories and playing my thought process to make me accepting of this. And they're truly like, no, but little girls. So this is the things they do. This is the technology and how it's applied to me to disturb me. They do this thing systematically. This is toward the little babies. Well, I'll show you how yesterday they finished. It was they resolved the case. Case closed after the same shit. Excuse my language. The same things. But this is the things they do to break me down. And it's typical using these technologies.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
this is what they're doing, giving me these emotions and reactions. But this was really, this, for example, this moment of what just happened to my brain felt definitely like a more, a less sophisticated way of making me have a reaction. They've done that many times. I remember when they used to do it earlier. Oh my gosh, I felt like literally there was like some liquid in my brain being just like leaking somewhere. It felt like I had like brain liquid just flowing. Maybe that it was actually happening, but it was just so intense. And they bring like they're doing the same thing right now. Maybe not the same level of like feeling that it's like a brain liquid coming out, but you feel like an intense feeling just coming from like the side of your brain, being triggered to feel something. It's just nasty, but they're doing it to get me to have this reaction toward this baby. So sad, adorable little girl, but turning into something sexual now in my brain. And they're putting my brain like in my memories, making me think, because what it feels like, and how I can try to describe it is, you know, when you see somebody like some very cute, adorable, but not, imagine that feeling just intensified to the point where it feels sexual. That's what it feels like. So what they're doing is like they try to make me think of this adorable little girl somewhere. It's like, oh, but would you feel like this like sensation? No, not like that. This is the sensation you make me feel. This sensation is like me drinking so much coffee. I feel like so much going on in my brain. And then they try to create like, oh, but if you felt like that, you saw, they're creating this weird, intense feeling that I've talked about, like a brain chemistry being released that's so intense, but then try to apply that to these babies. It's like, no, but you feel like that. If you, no, I will not. You are making me feel this thing. It feels like I've drank so much like pre-workout stuff, like whatever pre-workout release in your brain. This is what it feels like. It's crazy. And then they try to make me think, but okay, imagine before you go to work, before you go work out, and you take no. It's so disgusting the way they make you think. They are making me feel like that feeling when there's so much, you've drank so much caffeine, but it's like targeted. So there's some brain chemical they release to try to create some sexual stimulation, and they're like, oh, awkward. It's like, no, you're playing my brain to make me have this reaction that is sexual. And then you try to make me feel like, oh, awkward. No, this is exactly what this man said. It's just like what this program was about. And it's funny how they say awkward. I was like, okay. And they have these tactics toward children that they want you to be identifying. But this is what this technology was meant to be doing.
In 1965, Dr. launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969. The doctor's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. Human mind can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
So you have this trash interacting with me via V2K. Voice to skull is what this person here describes.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time, and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in a person's mind.
So they're popping their voices. I can hear them talking, interacting with me in ways that try to agitate me. They tell me how it's going to be hardcore, this awkward. You know, they're using all the different deflecting tactics to gaslight me, right? Because you can clearly hear that obviously they're doing things to alter your mind. they can make you have this reaction stimulation. And this is in a way that's offensive. They try to break you down. And this tactics of pedophilia type of torture, this is really something they do commonly. They utilize your libido, your sexual reactions as ways to kind of break you down.
They use these monarch style torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they're gonna traumatize you, then use your libido to get back at you, and
so they do these things, these tactics, which clearly mentioned here, which is
what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of
the pedophilia type of torture,
planted dreams.
Which is what they do. So for me, when this brain chemical is released, I know this is going to go into something sexual. Like I can feel like, oh my gosh. And they do that to they release this when they want me to have a weird, like almost sexual reaction. It's not fully sexual, but it's like a mixture. And they're supposed to make me acceptive of this. And this perps, right, via voice to skull. Perps are these contracted civilians, right? That is their war. It's not really. They just are tasked to continuously. Somebody has to be around you. To always, not even around you, but they have to these interactions via this technology that's not stop, right? I don't know if they're actually around you or like, but the interactions are there 24/7, and they're supposed to gaslight you, to torment you, disorient you, to try to make you think. And so this is the things they like to do with me, and I hope that it helps somebody. But for me, what's happening is I am forced to get this reaction that I can feel something in my brain just got like release some brain chemicals in some cases. This is the more obvious cases, but some kind of brain chemicals released for this purpose of reacting to this baby in this way. And then these perps start saying things too because they want me to identify with this, right? And they do that to little girls, and they're like, oh, girls, try to be like, this is because you this is your reaction to little girls, so you girls, right? And so they start saying things like that for you to identify with this. Obviously, something just got manipulated in my brain. But their job is to make you identify with this manipulation. They want you to think, oh my gosh, whoa, oh my gosh, so me, right? They want you to start like thinking that your brain is not being just altered at all. It's just you, we're just mapping, we're math. And they have no shame, they can say anything. That we're just, when it's clear that they are altering your mind for you to have this reaction. In this case is even more obvious because you feel literally like something is almost leaking, something just like being pressed together. It's not always that case, so it's in that fashion. Sometimes you get the reaction, but you don't feel like a whole brain, just like a side of a brain just feeling like weird. But this feeling is more like the over caffeinated feeling of like something just like whatever brain chemical comes out from drinking coffee is that. But like a lot of it, like pre-workout level, like an injection of some sort, just and it's perhaps to create some sexual stimulation of some sort, or like push it to that level. It's a weird feeling too. It's just weird. It's like it's too much of it to the point that it turns into something sexual. And it's nasty. And every time they make me feel this reaction, like, oh, now you're pissed, now what you feel. I was like, no, that's what you're making me feel, because you're manipulating my brain to feel this way. And like these people said, this is what this technology can do. And they've been doing that for a long time. This is how they attack the mind. And it's clear that these entities have been working on how to alter the mind for a long time. And like I want to bring that up again, because it just shows and describes exactly what I'm saying, and I love to bring that in their face all the time.
Innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Shelley Welsh telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe, but not if you listen to Nick Beige.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Baggage is an expert in government propaganda. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behaviors of human beings. Going back to the Korean War, in fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems and being able to not just to debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain.
But how?
HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based on radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Baggage says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just be about triggering emotions. You change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to
And this is what feels like is happening right now, but they can do the more sophisticated things at times. But most of the time is that. But every once in a while, like especially at night, they release this weird feeling that feel like just extreme caffeinated too, that creates these reactions. And it's clear that they've been working on that for a long time, and they're supposed to gaslight. She was like, "No, I saw you, and now you change." They tell me all the random things to deflect. Like, listen, this is what they do: make me have this feeling, sensation, stimulation toward these babies. Gaslight me using this V2K. Just like, no, girls, no, this and that. You're gonna be raped. You're gonna do this and deflecting, doing it. Because I'm this point, I know what they do. I know they do the perfect type of torture. I know they manipulate the brain in these ways. I know that's a systematic. I know what this is about. This is a weapon system that's just utilized on us as we are just test subjects. I know what this is really about. You know, they still want to create this fantasy. Now we're mapping your brain, and now you're manipulating my brain. You're mapping my brain to manipulate my brain. Make sure you map my brain so you can manipulate me to have the reaction that you want me to have. The design reaction that this man was saying. And the reactions are supposed to be offensive, disturbing. Because this is a weapon system. These trash are just contracted low life, you know, to try to gaslight you into accepting this thing. And their job is to really break you down into accepting this thing. They're like children frustrated that you don't go with this bullshit reality they put together. And I will never let that happen. Because as I was trying to show here, this man said it properly of what this is really about and what's happening right now.
Couples with external fields of all kinds. For radio frequency, you can look at the radio frequency dosimetry handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ, so you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause it to malfunction, so degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here. We don't want to destroy the property. Have to be built afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century. It's the very beginning of it in a lot of ways, but the research goes back over 50 years.
Okay, it's the weapon system that they've been working for over 50 years, and they are implemented on us because we are the subject that they developed this technology onto. So they are attacking the mind. Of course, the body destroyed. My internal organs are just being. They tell me how I'm rotting. It's because they are. Who knows what they're doing to my guts, to my internal organs, to my liver, to my kidney. I can feel that doing whatever they need to. And they have these perps here who are like, oh no, we bastard you, you know, trash ass. These are contracted individuals who are supposed to, they're participants of this program where we test subjects are forced to experience whatever they make us experience, and they're supposed to get you to accept this. It's their job. And you know, they're nobodies, but tomorrow they could be doing that to somebody else and go through the same system. Forcing people to have these reactions of some sort and then try to gaslight them. And that's the reality of things. And so that's that. This is toward this little baby. But yesterday was, let me just come back with yesterday. Yesterday, if you saw my last video, it was about the, excuse me, the this year. I made a video about it. It's the same thing, but they're like, these perps, I don't know how they find the strength to do what they do and be able to systematically do the same thing and be able to dumb themselves down. Because everything is the same every day. It's the same things every day. Nothing new. But like, now we're done now. It's over. We put you together. It's like, whatever you restructure my brain in whatever ways, I'm never going to identify with this. You saw this little baby. So imagine the older kids. If they want me to have some kind of reaction or perception, you know, these older kids at this point, they can make me think of them like adults. You know, for example, yesterday I made a video about this here. I don't even want to look at her because they're going to force me to get a perception. They play my perception so insanely. Because I saw this earlier, they changed it to like a normal way, and then they put it back where I can feel like a weird feeling and sensation toward this kid. She's a teenage kid. But initially when I scrolled down, they made me think that it was like the girlfriend, which is not hard. Like I said, this is not a hard thought to think, because Tiger Woods, I'm not sure, but it sounded like at one point he was dating very young individual, young adults, of course, not like kids, right? Like fresh adults, right? And so I was like, okay, is that like a new like girlfriend he just got? And you know, because I guess she doesn't. If you don't know, like, you know, they look alike, but you know that after you know that that's father and daughter, then you can see the resemblance. But initially, it takes you a while to see the resemblance. But I was like, is that the new girlfriend or something? Because I know he likes to date, or I thought he liked to date like young adults. But it was his daughter. He's a 16-year-old kid. She's only 16. She's a child, a baby. And for me, they make me cough. But for them, it's like, oh, you see, you could think that she's like, okay. You see how the babies, first of all, the perception toward these little babies, they can create this. So imagine the older kids. If she's not even much of an older kid, she's like a 16-year-old kid. But those they can create a perception that can make her perceive her as an adult, which is okay. It's like, okay, you can, in my brain, you can easily make me think that she's like a really young adult, right? That's not too crazy. But what they do after that is also give me this perception, sexual perception, or see her in a positive sexual way. I don't know how can I say, in a appealing way. And the truth is, she will not do anything to me, right? And I'm not even trying to insult her. She's a child. But they are creating a perception that is appealing. And it's not natural, right? But they're like, oh, you see, that's proof we finished, and this and that. I was like, oh my gosh. I have a whole folder here of all the kids they made me have, because every time they do these things to me, I show pictures. I have a whole thing here. I have a folder called Teenager, then I'm going to be forced to get stimulation. I have this teen so stimulation to disturb me. Because they do that all the time. And all the different kids or teenager of some sort. All the different, if they look like teenagers, stimulations. I'm getting stimulation right now. This is because if they're kids, the teenagers. Whew, let me see. This one that we were bringing up not too long ago to mess with me. This teenager earlier. They were messing with me. They brought them back again, and I was like, listen. It was this thing on this Korean thing, and I'm like, listen, if you can do that to little kids, can you imagine what you can do to older kids? For example, this is a teenage boy, right? Imagine they can force you to have sexual stimulation to like a 10-year-old little boy, right? And this is like a teenage boy, but to be honest, this teenage boy do look like an adult. And they start making you experiences toward this like teenage boy. Then you'll be like, okay, you know, you're doing that to these babies. This boy's kind of look like an adult, but the teenage girls look more like teenage girls. But I'm like, this is nothing. You do that to the babies. Imagine if they are here forcing people to get sexual stimulation toward these like little kids that the obvious babies. Then they start making you have the experience toward this teenage boy who like maybe a 17-year-old boy or 16-year-old boy that looks like that. I'm like, okay, you see that at that point it's easy. That's kind of the same thing. Okay, specifically this boy, he looked like closer to an adult, but the teenage girls like they're like, this is because they're close to adulthood. You can create this perception in my head like they're almost like young adult. That's it. But it's manipulation. I would see her as like just a typical teenage girl, just like the boy there. But the stimulations are intense right now. Woo! But they do that to these babies. They can do that to these little ones. So of course the older kids is gonna be like that. So I have a whole folder of as long as they're just kids, it's gonna be stimulation. I have a whole folder here. This is she look like a teenager. That's that. Some of them I don't even know if they're actually a teenager, but they look like it. Stimulations. And yesterday they were like, oh, we mapped it, that's it, we got proved, it's over. It's like, this is the things you've been doing so much of it. Since my targeting, it's been nasty reaction toward children. And they're like, no, this time it's over. Case solved. Like, this is the same thing. The babies, the older kids, whoever is just to portray this persona, because at the end of the day, this is what this is about. It's about creating a false persona into the target individual. They alter the mind. Some of it is more extreme than others. And as I'm closing, they try to stimulate me on Tiger Woods' daughter, which they made me think was the girlfriend at one point. Because they alter the mind. Some of them is more extreme. You saw the little baby, so you can see the older kids. It's like, if you can do that to these babies, you can do that to anybody. If these kids can have resemblance of like adults, they can. Matter of fact, those teenage kid that you saw, that I was watching this reality show. They try to make me think of these teenage kids as the reality, because at that point they kind of have some little bit of resemblance. It's crazy. Ugh.
That this person who developed delusional disorder, this is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody developed paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, that's all. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds.
Personalities.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so
they are altering my mind. and they're really trying to implant this personality, this persona, try to like build me into somebody I'm not, and try to create that persona by manipulating me in real time, then putting together whatever they can to make me accepting of these reactions I'm having today. So I can identify with this. Like I know. Listen, I can speak about what's happening to me, but I'm never gonna experience me. I'm gonna experience what they designed me to experience, the thought process and it all of it. That's all I can experience. There's nothing I can do about it. Now I'm able right now, for now at least, to articulate what's happening to me. It doesn't mean I'm experiencing who I am, but I can articulate what's happening to me so far. It's not easy, but this is the things they do to me. I'm expecting some horrible things to happen to me because I put that in their face all the time. Because the reality is this. It's something I want to finish that up with. These perps, as much as they want you to they're forcing you to have these personalities or this reaction toward children. Like I said, these governmental entities that are altering my brain for the purpose of developing this technology to see what they can do and how they can attack the mind and what system and tactics works in regard of breaking down the target individual. These people, the awkwardness of it all is this.
Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? No, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired, can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check, screening process. It's called an SSPI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview family, they interview contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? So then we're up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind?
It's funny how they talk about footprints and they try to like go into the way they've gone to
CIA.
They as they talk about footprint, they try to counter with the stupidity the way they're trying to counter reality. I'm not gonna let them escape into this retardation of reality that they use to gaslight me, because reality is that bad.
Create or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace, and one we must fight head on, Spanberger said in a statement. According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in
2018. That's reality. But in fact, to counter this reality, I have a bunch of videos about Warsaw hip hop and like, nah, but remember you clicked on that video. It's like, I never watched this thing. Well, they are here working for governmental entities that are like top tier in trading child porn and trafficking child porn. It's nasty. They live a reality that's just like, embarrassing. And so they're gonna live off my torture. Because the reality of things, while they're out here triggering brain reaction of that fashion and forcing people to have this reaction to break them down. It's like I'll put that in their face 24/7, so I expect nothing but the worst. They are altering the mind. They are breaking down the target individual. They are destroying our life, but try to make you accepting of these personalities that they themselves have to manipulate you to experience. To these babies, to these older kids, and wanting you to accept, and they're like, oh, our children, oh yeah, okay, look at that top tier child porn trafficking, and then you are here trying to counter it by talking about worst hip hop. So disgusting trash. This is not, I mean, I can bring up the tortures of what they do to other people who aren't just men or women, but it's also children. The horribleness the way they aim and those torture toward children, women. This technology, obviously, like this man, this 21st century weapon system will attack the mind and the body physiologically. And what they do to the body is so horrible. For example, what they're doing to my organs, destroyed. My throats, they're targeting it. My knees, destroyed. But they also target the private parts, also children too. And they use this trash. Who found empowerment in this? Because the truth is, I'm helpless. There's nothing I can do. We'll talk about this technology, the 21st century weapon system that these DoD entities have been working on. And I'm just a test subject. There's nothing we can do. That's why I'm a test subject. There's nothing I can do to stop that. Just like anybody else. And they use these clowns that have no self-respect, like, nah, we're mad. They did this, like, yeah, okay. Since the Korean War, targeting me just as strong.